The opening drive live stream has finally taken place, and we know a lot about not only college football 27, but Madden 27 as well. Nonetheless, here I am to give you a breakdown of all the talking points. I'm going to give you some detailed information, but a lot of it I'm going to refer you to the actual live stream. So this is probably going to be a long video because I'm going to go over everything for college football 27 as well as Madden 27 as it pertains to gameplay, Dynasty franchise, Road to Glory, as well as Superstar mode. So yes, I am late, a day later than all of your favorite creators. Unlike those other high-end creators that are top of the line, 100,000 subscribers and more, I'm not privileged enough to receive the information days before, weeks before, and prepare videos. I have to put together my videos the day the information drops. So the reason it took me so long was because I went back and rewatched the live stream to take notes so that I can go ahead and go over everything that they spoke about during the video. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get into gameplay. There were actually 3 focus points for college football 27 and Madden as it pertains to gameplay. Defense wins championships, built from game day, and play your way. So we're going to start out with defense wins championship. They now have a feature called look for work, or they implemented something in the system called look for work, where previously defenders didn't move until players got into their zone. Now defenders drop, move, and look for work properly instead of waiting for players to get in their zone. Smart zones. On an individual or team level, you can decide how aggressive you want your players to be. If you're being beat constantly by a mesh concept and you want to be able to take that away, set your middle linebacker to aggressive. If you're getting beat by deep overs, set them to conservative. Also, they implemented a new system called plaster logic, and this is built to defend against the scrambling QB. Defenders no longer just stand around, they are constantly moving around and sticking to receivers, etc. So when you're facing off against a mobile quarterback who's just running around like Kyler Murray all day, looking for somebody to throw to, the defenders are constantly going to be running around, sticking to defenders and making sure that they do not break free for a big play. So also they speak on coaching adjustments. They speak on coverage adjustments. There's 25 new coverage checks and presets for every specific coverage, like cover 2, cover 3, cover 4, cover 6. Wide receiver press, they talk about inside release and outside release. Receivers now have logic around the routes they run. If they're running a deep out, they're going to try and win on the outside. If they're running a deep in, they're going to try to run on the inside, which means leverage and shading is going to mean even more this year than it did last year and ever so before. And the last bullet point as far as defense wins championships is wide receiver jostle, which is actually a feature designed for DBs, but not just any DBs, the slower, underappreciated, intelligent DBs. And what I mean by that is it's designed to help DBs, specifically the slower DBs. Now, as a user, you can attach yourself on the move or at the stem of a route with the receiver, or you can attach while the ball is in the air. When you are attached, you are slowing the wide receiver down, putting yourself in the best position to play the ball. This is actually a huge feature because one of the main complaints for a lot of people in the community is that over the years, Madden isn't realistic, and now they look at college football the same as well, but because all users do is go after players with exceptional speed, not a high overall. And I'm guilty for going after those players too, but I don't necessarily just try to bomb deep all day. I just prefer to have faster players. But other individuals look to acquire fast players just so they can use cheese plays and glitch plays and just bomb it deep all day instead of playing straight up football. What this is designed to do is eliminate that whole mindset. So now, if you have a slower DB, not nobody that's extremely slow, but say you're going up against somebody who has like 94 speed and your DB has 87 or 88 speed. Now, if you're in control of that DB, you can attach yourself to that wide receiver and you can purposely slow that wide receiver down to bring them down to your level. That is huge. That is massive. When you talk about gameplay, you don't get any better than that as far as gameplay is concerned. So now let's move on to the next category, the next bullet point, which is built from game day. So they start talking about physical and tiers. They talk about how the community said they prefer the tier ability system. The system was already in CFB, and now they are debuting it in Madden this year. Then they speak about goal line on goal line gameplay, introducing brand new 2-player, 3-player, 4-player animations, cut blocking, submarine techniques designed to make you feel like you really have to earn every yard inside those situations, making it feel more like Saturdays and Sundays. They have a new QB sneak feature where QB sneaks aren't as easy anymore. I mentioned that in my last video that I posted earlier yesterday morning, and I was talking about how with them implementing tush push was kind of like a bad thing, how people were looking at it as it being a bad thing because QB sneaks were already OP. Well, now QB sneaks aren't OP, and I can attest to this because I played the beta, and it is not easy at all. Even if you get it close to green, you virtually go nowhere on a QB sneak. So basically, they have a bar like the revamped passing system, and you have to time it to get it in the right spot. You don't want to get it in red. If you get it in yellow, you want to get it in green, but you primarily want to get it in green because if you get anywhere outside of green, chances are it's not going to be a successful QB sneak. So they implemented that feature, and that feature is also available for the tush push. So when you do use tush push, you still have to use this same feature. So it is not as easy as it may seem. And testing it out myself, playing in the game in the beta, this thing is legit and it really works because I virtually could call a QB sneak whenever I wanted in college football 26 and Madden 26, and it was pretty much easy money. There was no stopping it. I knew how to stop it, but a lot of times people didn't really stop me when I did the QB sneak. Now it is not as easy. I ran it back-to-back plays on the goal line. One, I got a little bit in the yellow, just slightly out of the green, and I got -1 yard. I did it again. I got it a little more in the green and just absolutely went nowhere. And I'm playing on Heisman. Yeah, it's definitely a great feature, a great addition. So anybody who feels like QB sneak was OP and quite frankly, they were sick of people using QB sneak, don't worry, that's pretty much a dead issue now. Also, this is more on the Madden end than it is the CFB end because CFB already has a strong home field advantage atmosphere. But for anybody who is asking for CFB to take that out, not only did they not take it out, they implemented it in Madden. So if you play both CFB and Madden and you're sick and tired of home field advantage, it's not getting any better for you. I don't mind it. I like it. I like the difficult challenge of it. But it has been implemented in Madden to a higher level. Yes, they already had home field advantage, but it was nowhere near anything like CFB. Home field advantage really didn't even feel like home field advantage in Madden. But now it does. Now home field advantage in Madden is going to feel just like CFB. Specifically, Arrowhead will feel just like Arrowhead Stadium. They have the decibel meter and everything. It shows the screen shaking. You can't get any audibles off, any hot routes off. It's pretty tremendous. I'm not even going to lie. I like the challenge. Will this be a feature that can be turned off, turned on? Who knows? But home field advantage is playing more of an impact in Madden than it has before. Also, with that being said, with home field advantage, they talk about the new dynamic weather system and how now there's dynamic weather in both college football 27 as well as Madden 27. So what people have been requesting for years and years and years now is finally in the game. If you're in a game and you start off and it's just like a light snow flurry at the beginning of the game, as the game goes on, that snow can progressively increase more and more and more to the point where by the end of a game, you could be in a blizzard. And with that, as the weather continues to deteriorate, the difficulty of the gameplay will as well. So be mindful of that when you are playing in games. If you're playing in games and it's like light rain or it's like light snow, don't expect how you play early in that game to be the same way throughout the entire game. If it progressively gets worse, the gameplay is going to get worse as well. And this is much needed. This is what the community has been asking for a long time as it pertains to gameplay. Now let's move on to the last bullet point, the play your way bullet point. They talk about timing-based catching. Yes, I know you're wondering, what the hell is timing-based catching? Timing-based catching is a new feature that provides a catch meter for your receivers, similar to the revamped passing meter. If it's red, you're too late and you drop it. If it's yellow, it's slightly early and starts to depend on ratings. If it's slightly yellow, it depends on how good your receiver is. Green is dynamic and depends on the situation, like how good your receiver is, who he's being guarded by, so on and so forth. They alluded to the possibility that this mechanic can be turned on or off. So anybody who's freaking out about this feature being added into the game, it more than likely can be something that can be turned off, nothing that can stay on. Remember, revamped passing is a thing that can be turned off and turned on. So I'm sure that is going to be an option for anybody who is concerned about that. Also, this same feature is available on defense as well. So they highlighted how the community has constantly given them feedback saying, your game is broken, your game is broken. I have wide open receivers that are constantly dropping the ball. My DBs are constantly dropping the ball. Well, their rebuttal to that was, here you go, you have a feature. If you have such an issue with receivers and DBs dropping the ball, go turn this feature on and you do it yourself. And I'm not even mad at them for this. Will I use it? I don't know. Maybe not. It's a catch-22. I might think that I'm timing my catches perfect, and then I turn this meter on and I'm absolutely not, and it can end up costing me the game. Who knows? I'll probably test it out just to see. It'll be interesting to see and experience, but to know it's there in case I do feel like I want to turn that on and try to catch it myself without depending on the computer dropping or catching the ball is a great deal. Again, they're bolstering up the gameplay. A lot of people have been slamming other people out there in the community for certain things that they've wanted in the game just because they aren't screaming about the things they wanted. So like you got the gameplay people slamming the equipment people. You got the equipment people going back at the gameplay people. You got the people that wanted mascot mode. And then there's the people that felt like mascot mode was unnecessary, so on and so forth. Instead of everybody just coming together, trying to get EA to give us everything we want, you got people slamming each other, trying to bring the next one down and saying my idea is better than yours and your idea is garbage, so on and so forth. That's why we make wish lists. My wish list asks for all of this, asks for a whole bunch of stuff. And it appears that EA has delivered on a lot of things that was actually in my wish list. I don't know about anybody else's out there, but so far, so good. Moving on to custom adjustments. It is far more advanced than was ever leaked. You can set macros / groups of adjustments that you can click on in game after you pick a play to make those adjustments with one click of the button versus rushing to make a ton of adjustments before the ball is hiked. You can create a total of 20, but can only go into each game with 10. So basically, if there is a specific play or plays that you like to show blitz for your linebackers and press your DBs while spreading your D line, you can set that as a macro and set another macro where you have those same adjustments, but instead of a spread it D line, a pinch D line, and at the click of a button, you can choose which preset you want to use. Again, these are macros, and macros are a preset adjustment of everything that you want inside that play to happen. And when I tell you this is a game-changing feature, this is a game-changing feature like never heard of before, and this is gonna come in handy so much because I can't tell you how many times I'm going up against somebody that I know they're putting together the craziest little cheese or glitch play, and I gotta sit here and try to scramble to get all my players in position and aligned and on assignments that I want them to be on in each play, and I can't get it off in time because they do what they do and they hike it, the next thing you know they're bombing it downfield. Well, now no more. You have these presets for different macros, and now you could look at however your opponent is aligned, and you could bring up with one click of a button, bring up your macros and choose which macro you want to use for that specific situation. Let's go. What a win for the community. What a win for gameplay right there. And they actually show you during the live stream a demonstration and a more detailed breakdown. But if you want to check that out, I'm not going to get into that too much because this video would be far longer than it's going to be. I'll put a link to the live stream in the description box so you can go check it out for yourself. Also, there's new pre-snap custom adjustments that include one-click buttons to contain QB, fake pressure, play short routes, no deep passes, bring the house, etc., etc. And as somebody, when I was watching the live stream, I was just kind of taking it in. I wasn't really focused on too much detail in their explanation or anything like that. But after playing the beta, playing the game on defense is completely different. Every option that you had before is no longer there anymore. And the game that I did play, although I did win, I want to say it was like 56-20. I played USC over LSU. Although I won it, I basically was running the same defense the entire play because I didn't know how to set up anything. I no longer know how to make custom adjustments with the secondary. I no longer know how to make custom adjustments with the linebackers. I no longer know how to make custom adjustments with the D-line and so on and so forth. So I'm actually going to have to sit down and practice and go over this because everything is completely different. Even on offense, like the setting to make adjustments to your offensive line and set the protection, I don't even know what that is anymore. I'm pressing the button for it, and all it's doing is bringing up macros for the offense. So even with moving players out of the backfield or moving players from one side of the field to the other, it is completely different, and you will soon see. And if you played the beta, you know what I'm talking about right now. Everything has completely changed, but it's for the better. I'm sure once I learn it, it'll be all good. Right now, that was a little tough because I was playing blind and having to play the same defense the whole game because that was all that I knew. I didn't know anything else. I didn't know how to adjust anything. And I wasn't stopping to try to go look at the controls. So moving along, they also talk about the difference in gameplay between Madden and CFB. I'll put that up on screen so you can see it for yourself. But if you want to check that out in full detail breakdown, just go check out the live stream. And just as I mentioned not too long ago, that will be linked in the description box. Enough of gameplay. Now we're moving on to Dynasty. So there was a lot of things that was spoken about as far as Dynasty is concerned. I really could probably break this video up into multiple videos, but I'm putting it together as one video, and I'm going to have markers set for each section. So if anybody wants to skip and go to a said section, by all means, go right ahead. I may even still release each section as its own personal video aside from this, but I'm putting this all together in one so that everybody has a one-stop shop to get all their information as it pertains to college football 27 as well as Madden 27. So starting off with Dynasty, they talk about the new Dynasty Blueprint, which is a full management system that allows you to use a Dynasty point system. Those points can be used to hire staff, upgrade your facilities, and use like cash to offer NIL on recruiting trips. Then they start speaking about athletic directors and the personalities of those athletic directors. It says each school is unique and has a different demeanor, with those demeanors dictating how difficult passing or failing an expectation may be. They say there's hundreds of expectations, both on field and off field, recruiting and others. The example they used was that if you're Ohio State, you may be expected to beat Michigan every year or be at risk to be on a hot seat. Not bringing in the appropriate amount of 3, 4, or 5-star recruits, maintaining facilities, school-specific goals, etc. can lead to you being on the hot seat as well. Then they start talking about your coaching staff. And as mentioned before earlier in the live stream, you'll be required to allocate some of those points towards your coaching staff. Coordinators will already be on your staff in year one. You'll be able to add more assistants to your staff that will help with recruiting, accruing more Dynasty points, increasing player progression, or decreasing NIL ask. Those skills all work as a multiplier or a counterbalance to your potential archetype, meaning choosing the correct staff is going to be massive. Once you get to the offseason, you can offer any coach or coordinator a job. Expected Dynasty point values are going to be based on your coach and schools. Therefore, you can't just throw a big old bag at any coach and expect them to accept. So yes, you can go try to poach offensive coordinators or coaches, whomever, from anywhere across the states. But as long as it's within your balance, if you don't have the appropriate balance, don't even try it. So then they start talking about facilities. Facilities determine how much XP your recruits are going to accrue with each level, also unlocking equipment slots. Those slots will allow you to reduce injuries, reduce wear and tear, increase season health, and extend the life of facilities. In turn, facilities do degrade over time if not managed correctly, negatively impacting recruiting, retaining recruits, and recruits' health on the field as well. Now they're putting you in the position of like a full-on GM, and you're completely in control over everything. You have to maintain the upkeep of your staff. You have to maintain the upkeep of your facilities. And if you're not doing so, you're at risk of losing prospects. You're at risk of prospects getting hurt on the field because those facilities aren't upkept. You end up on the hot seat, so on and so forth. So this is putting you in a situation to where it's like you're actively, like I always speak on how Madden over the last few years has made it feel like you're an actual GM. They give you so many things to do in franchise mode, you never get tired of it. College football wasn't necessarily feeling like that. Now they're putting a feel like there's always something to do, keeping you fully immersed into the game, and I love it. So now let's get into the recruiting and NIL aspect, which is what a lot of people have been waiting for. They said you can use NIL to help bring in high school recruits, but not all high school recruits will require NIL. As mentioned previously before in one of my other videos pertaining to the leaked information we received from Reddit. NIL is dependent on the school's prestige, proximity to home, and school grades. All these determine the desired NIL the recruit is requesting. NIL is not a guaranteed win. It's a scholarship bonus that can be increased or decreased depending on how you're trending with the said recruit. It's still important to hit on recruits' deal breakers, perfect pitches, visits, so on and so forth if you want to lock in that player's commitment. You can adjust the NIL offered at any time, but doing so could lead to frustrating the recruit, leading to them flipping on you. Now let's get into the newest feature, which is verbal commits. Just because you get a verbal commit doesn't mean you can adjust the NIL offer or take time away from said recruit to help recruit someone else, as it can lead to them flipping commitment as well. NIL must also be adjusted near the end of the season, as players' NIL desire will fluctuate based on star ratings, overall performance, and if they win awards. So it's just like real life. It's just like real life. Although you're not giving out actual money, it's points that act as money. You have to be mindful of what you offer, what you promise, and the upkeep as your players develop and become better athletes. Because if you can't pay them anymore, or you don't offer to increase their pay after having a good season and winning awards, you're at risk of losing them to another university. So let's go. Let the realism begin. Let the immersion begin. So moving on to coaching carousel, you can now express interest in schools, even if they are not on the top candidates list. However, expressing interest in too many schools can negatively impact the coaching stability grade. If you decide to stay at your current school, you now have the ability to offer job opportunities to any coach across the country and not just interested coaches. Dynasty points can help entice these coaches and increase the interest. 6 offers per coordinator. So coaching carousel has been completely revamped. It is no longer like it was before. Now you can throw your hat in the ring to as many different universities as you want for the most part, but you have to be diligent and how many schools you try to do that with. Because if you do decide to stay, just as they mentioned, you're going to impact your coaching stability grade. Moving on to the wear and tear management. It seems to me during the presentation that this is the exact same system that they have in place in Madden, although they didn't mention if you will actually be able to perform the training activities. So if you look at it, you have the same system with the full pads, half pads, rest, so on and so forth. But they don't show if you actually can perform the training activities with the focus players. So that makes me wonder if you actually have the weekly training that you physically can perform, or if this is just a simulation based thing. This was a full reveal, but there were quite a few things that they left out. So they didn't specify that. So that was a thing that was kind of left out. And they also really didn't say anything about presentation wise. There were a few things that they spoke about as far as presentation, but they didn't focus on, like what was mentioned before. It said the halftime show for College Football 27 had significant upgrades, but they didn't speak on the halftime show at all. So we'll see here soon. Playing the beta, you don't see any of that because they're not going to put everything in the beta, but I can say I did go and look, and there is some equipment improvements for college football. It's not massive improvements, but there's some things implemented that people have been asking for. Yes, there are mouthpieces. Yes, those arm sleeves and undershirt combinations are a lot better than they were before. Not just College Football 26, but better than Madden 26 as well. So basically, what they implemented in Madden 26 as far as the sleeves and so on and so forth is concerned, it's better now. You know how players in real life, they'll wear the undershirt, but then they'll wear the arm sleeves, but the arm sleeve doesn't go all the way up the arm, leaving a gap in between the arm sleeve and the undershirt. Now you have that option in College Football 27, and I would assume it's like that in Madden 27 as well. The last few things they spoke about that they added in College Football 27 as far as Dynasty is concerned is expanded league history going back to the 1800s. They even show history of records and things that were set in the Pac-10 and old conferences, so on and so forth. There also is now a coach mode in Dynasty mode. So now you have the ability to sit and watch the game as a coach instead of actually partaking and playing in it. And I know this is a feature that the community has been begging for years plus. So big news there. Also, user selected crowd themes. Now, when you go into each game, you can select the theme that the crowd wears while in attendance. Don't necessarily know if that was something that was actually asked for by the community, but it's a sweet little touch on top of everything else that they decided they wanted to add. And last but not least, definitely one of the bigger things on people's radar is a stadium builder. I can't tell you how many people have been in my comments since last college football about Stadium Builder in Team Builder. Well, they officially added Stadium Builder. And speaking of Team Builder, they say you will now be able to edit your teams in Team Builder at the start of every single Dynasty year. So big win for the Dynasty community. A lot of things that people have been asking for a long time has now been implemented into the game. And now we move along to Road to Glory. Starting off with new positions, you now have 3 new positions added to the game. You have edge, tight end, as well as safety. New player builds, which include a custom build to be a one-of-one type of player, or you can use a legendary template. And again, like a couple other things I mentioned before, I'm not going to go into too much detail about this. You can just check out the live stream for that information. Again, I will have that linked in the description box. They also talk about going from high school to the Hall of Fame. So stick with me here because we'll mention the Hall of Fame part as we get into the Madden section. But it says legacy score is a collection of meaningful moments throughout your career from your star rating in high school all the way to your NFL draft score. Every game played, every play made, every award won adds to your legacy score. Players are rewarded more for reaching base mechanics and objectives. So they mentioned how that was one thing that the community was complaining about big time, and now they've bolstered that up. Now let's get into more Team Builder content. Team Builder, now you can import Team Builder teams for all high schools as well as all colleges in your Dynasty mode, as well as in Road to Glory. You also have a fitness meter for your Road to Glory character. Affects players' XP, multipliers, weight, ratings increase, etc. You have to balance your fitness meter as off the field you have over 100 new scenarios. Speaking of scenarios, now you have exams that you have to partake in the game. There are new tests and quizzes that you have to take that are actually somewhat difficult. If you don't study and you fail, you will suffer the consequences. That's intriguing. Again, something I didn't really hear anybody talk about. I'm trying to figure out why that was added into the game, because who's really trying to pass a test in college football? We really just trying to get to the game. I get it though. I feel it. That adds to the immersion and gives you that real student-like position. I don't play a lot of Road to Glory. I really barely play it at all. Like I played it some in College Football 26 and dropped it like a bad habit immediately, just because I'm more of a Dynasty player, but it's a cool little touch. They also talk about how they added brand new coach interactions. And if you play well enough and manage yourself on and off the field, you can be invited to the Heisman Trophy ceremony. So let's get into that for a second. Because when it was announced that they were bringing back the Heisman Trophy ceremony, a lot of people got excited, me especially, because that's been on my wish list for the last couple years. But we wanted the Heisman ceremony in Dynasty mode. We didn't request for it to be Road to Glory exclusive. Now, they didn't elaborate and say if it was Road to Glory exclusive, but they didn't mention it at all in their Dynasty presentation, and they brought it up in Road to Glory. So I'm starting to believe that it is exclusive to Road to Glory only, which is going to be a big disappointment because in my mind, just like how I spoke about in my Madden wishlist videos the last couple years, on how they never update the draft editor, and you have the same base generic face scans to use when you're creating your prospects, but you have a whole feature in superstar mode where you can edit every feature about that person's face. You have the feature in the game. Why not put it in your other mode as well? It's the same thing here. Why would you put this feature in Road to Glory and not put it in Dynasty mode? Again, we don't know for sure if it's not in Dynasty mode, but they definitely didn't highlight it in the Dynasty presentation and made a point to highlight it in Road to Glory. So only time will tell. Who knows? We shall see. Maybe I need to simulate a season in Dynasty while I have access to this beta and see if it's actually in there. I'll do that and I'll report back to you guys and let you know if it is actually in Dynasty or if they actually left it out. Now, that is enough as it comes to the College Football 27 section. Now we are about to get into Madden. As when they did the presentation, they did a smooth segue from Road to Glory into Superstar mode. So that's where we start here. We'll start in Superstar mode. You can now choose between being a day 1 first round draft pick, day 2 third round pick, or a day 3 fourth round pick. You also have 3 new positions in Superstar mode as well, which are the same positions: tight end, free safety, and edge rusher, or tight end, safety, and edge rusher. Player progression. Deepened player progression includes new skill trees, cap breakers, etc. And you have a new way to upgrade with specialties. These unlock new in-game mechanics specific to gameplay inside of Superstar. They actually demonstrate one specifically for QBs called Pressure Radar. When unlocked, it gives you a visual cue that shows you pressure is near and where it's coming from. The sixth sense that separates the elite QBs from the regular QBs, they stated. And when you actually see it, it's pretty fire. I ain't even gonna lie. I actually love that touch. And again, this is something that's exclusive to Superstar mode, not regular gameplay. So don't think you're going to expect to see this feature or this trait available to be used in franchise mode or regs or ultimate team, so on and so forth. They also have new boss battles, which are career defining matchups against the most elite players in the league, where the pressure is high, but the reward is great. And there's also a sphere of influence. They say the career is shaped by influences both on and off the field, tracks relationships within the league, coaches and teammates, local writers, as well as NFL legends. Relationships can unlock performance boosts, new gear, more play calling control, and media impacting if and when you get voted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Remember, I mentioned that as we got into the Road to Glory section, how you go from high school to Hall of Fame. This is where Hall of Fame comes up. You also can unlock superstar powers where you can change how the team is built around you. And just to give you just off the back, a couple things they speak about is like you have say-so in certain free agents they bring in around you, draft picks, so on and so forth, things like that. They go more in depth. If you want to check that out yourself, again, the link will be in the description box. Now there's a new Superstar HUD because they spoke about how people would say, if you have all these things to do, how do you keep up with it? Well, there's a new Superstar HUD that you can easily see your progress for weekly objectives, milestones, wear and tear management, etc. And last but not least, as it pertains to Superstar mode, is the GOAT tracker, which tracks your skills, legacy, and popularity. Shows you how you match up against the GOATs at your position. And that is that for the Superstar mode. Now we get into the biggest and best, which is franchise. Now let's get into the Persona engine, which they speak about managing people. It gives every player motivations, emotions, and behaviors that evolve dynamically over time. Players will feel human, powered by Persona DNA, which are new traits that impact the culture of your team, from players' attitudes to contract negotiations to roster demands. Every reaction is based on your performance and the choices you make each week. So making it even more dynamic and even more immersed. Remember, I kept speaking on how I felt that as far as 26 was concerned, Madden was the better game than college football, because although college football had the better gameplay and the fun of the college atmosphere and recruiting prospects and so on and so forth, there was so much more you could do in Madden. so many storylines, so many things from play sheets to abilities to training activities to breakout scenarios, so on and so forth. Everything, there was always something to do in Madden. There was never nothing to do. And now it seems that they are improving that tremendously. And as I speak on them improving that tremendously, let's get into the new weekly hub. Speaking of immersion, it doesn't get any better than this. They said all events from the new Persona engine are displayed through the new weekly hub and immersive actions. Players demanding a trade, an ESPN breaking news alert will pop up on the ticker at the bottom, as well as a pop-up notification popping up in real time designed to make it feel like real-time media. Notifications will pop up for users as well as computer-controlled teams. So now there's no more, I don't know how many of y'all follow my Jaguars franchise rebuild or even followed my Raiders rebuild, but there were a lot of times where at the beginning of the franchise or during the franchise when I made transactions or I restructured contracts in the offseason, so on and so forth, I went to the transactions tag to see what transactions other users might have made. And now you don't have to do that. Now when transactions are made, they pop up on the ticker in real time. And that is so huge because just as I was speaking about how Madden has a social media hub with news clippings and tweets from podcasters, former players, analysts, so on and so forth, and how I was mentioning that they need to implement that in college football, they just bolstered it even more. They just bolstered it up even more. And it's seeming like their purpose is to make sure that they improve Madden to the point that they are the superior game and stay the superior game. Because these things that they've added to franchise mode, although college football has made a massive jump in Dynasty mode and making that as immersive as possible, this takes what Madden was doing to the next level. And I can't wait to get my hands on it. I can see myself spending hours on both these games, but a ton of hours on Madden. Next, they speak on big time moves and how they impact more than just your roster. It says it changes the entire league, affecting your locker room, your former player being upset, and it also impacts the way other players around the league look at you and your organization. So if you feel like you want to go all in on a player, go all in on a player. Go send a couple draft picks, acquire that player, and go shoot for that Super Bowl championship. If you're the other team and you feel like you're not going anywhere with that player and you want to get as much compensation as possible, you'll have to deal with the consequences after dealing them. Now you'll have to deal with the persona that you have around a league from other players. So when free agency comes, players might think about that before they decide they want to sign with your team. Oh, this person might be liable to trade me down the line. I might not want to go there, so on and so forth. And you might make your locker room disgruntled as well because they may feel the same way. Well, if he can be traded, I can be traded as well. Giving this even more immersion, more of a real life atmosphere. You don't get any better than that. Moving on to even bigger and better things. Negotiation system. New conversations between coaches and players during negotiations. They actually give you 4 options that you can choose from when negotiating with a player. And you're actually sitting here having a conversation with this player one-on-one. Those 4 options you can choose to either increase by 5%, increase the base salary by 10%, add a guaranteed year, or hold firm. Whatever decision you make, you must factor in that player's deal breakers and mentals that match the player's persona DNA. And they go into even more detail about this in a live stream. And again, I'm not about to go into all of that detail because this video is already going to be long enough because I'm combining everything. So if you want to see that for yourself, feel free to go ahead and check that out in the live stream linked in the description box. Moving on, they talk about community demands that have been added, which would be holdouts, incentives, no trade clauses, and trade demands. These are all things that I've been asking for in my wish list for so long, and now we're finally getting them. Holdouts. I mentioned how we had holdouts before in the game. They finally brought them back. They brought back incentives. We now have no trade clauses. NBA 2K been having no trade clauses for years now. We now have that in Madden as well. And now you have trade demands that you must meet for these players or risk the possibility of them demanding being traded from your team. It doesn't get any more immersed than this. It says you also can delegate any of these actions to your staff at any time, but every decision you make will have consequences, as everything will. They also talk about coordinators, having real life coordinators. Let's go. We've been begging for this for so long, and it is here. We officially have real life coordinators in the game. And it says that they have began adding real life coordinators to the game. So I take that wording as they don't have all real life coordinators in the game, but they do have some. Now, how much? I don't know. They didn't elaborate on that. They didn't elaborate if it's just a few, half, majority, what, we don't know. But they did mention that they have began adding coordinators in the game. They showed Brian Flores, and they said that they will show these coordinators on the sideline as well as up in the booth. I can't tell you how hyped that makes me feel. And it stated how it brings more depth to the coach DNA system, adding value to your success as well as immersion and longevity to your league. And they said a mouthful right there because, again, something the community asked for a long time, and they finally have followed through. And now they actually bring up a list of more community wish list things that they requested that they actually added into the game, plus some other features that they added as well. And this is going to be the closing part of this video because this was the last thing they spoke on before they actually got into gameplay demonstration. So community wish list things that were added into the game: player holdouts, restricted free agents, again, something I asked for in my wish list, free agency frenzy, all franchise tags, transition tags, undrafted rookie free agency, super sim playbooks. All of this were community demands. All have been added in Madden 27. And then they get into the plus part, which is things that they also added that weren't exactly community wish list, although some of this stuff I've heard people talking about, but they didn't put it on the community wish list side. But coach mode, just like in college football 27, they have added coach mode in your franchise as well in Madden. Weekly recap 2.0. So I imagine that means they've bolstered that and improved that to a different degree. How big of a degree? Only time will tell. Do we get a visual in-studio presentation? I'm not going to bank on it, but we'll see. Again, this stuff wasn't demonstrated, but they spoke on it. And last but not least is college archetypes that are specifically dedicated to people who actually play college football, Road to Glory, and carry that player over until Madden. You're going to have specific college archetypes dedicated specifically to Road to Glory to Superstar users. So that just about wraps up this video. Before I do go ahead and cut this video short, I'm going to get into the whole MVP Plus membership. Everybody's been wanting to know what this membership is and saying how it's a money grab for EA. And I don't deny that it is a money grab for EA. But hearing what all of this entails, it's not as bad as I originally anticipated it was. Now, that's just to me. To the rest of the community, it might be so. But all this subscription is an annual fee of the purchase of the MVP bundle once a year, every year, around the same time. So if you are a person who always gets the MVP bundle, which is the deluxe version of Madden and college football every time, this shouldn't be an issue for you because you already get that bundle every year. You just automatically get charged that fee every year for that same time. But I could see how those people who don't do that, they might do it once, but then the next go around decide they only want college football, they don't want Madden, or decide they don't want the deluxe version of both games, they want the standard version. I could see how those people would be upset. Me, I get the MVP bundle every year, so it doesn't matter to me. And plus, mine is always discounted anyways because I have EA Play. So it was a no-brainer once I saw that that's what it entailed, was that it's simply just purchasing the MVP bundle once a year, every year. It's not a monthly subscription or anything of that nature. It's a yearly subscription of the MVP bundle every year. So for those of you who get the MVP bundle every year, you're going to look at this and be like, oh, that's nothing. But to those out there who don't, so say for instance, you got people who play college specifically and don't play Madden at all. Those are the ones that's going to be upset because there are going to be features and certain things that they miss out on, like early release and so on and so forth, because they don't have the MVP bundle. For y'all, I'm not mad at y'all. I'm not mad at y'all for being mad. I'd be upset too if I was one of y'all. But this is specifically to all the people who do get both of those versions. It's not really nothing new. It's not really nothing different. It's the same thing you do every year. And if you have EA Play, you get it discounted anyways. So I got mine's discounted. I got even more of a discount because I got the 10% discount for having the EA bundle. And I got my gift card from Microsoft for signing on to the app every day. So I was able to take off about $50 off of my version. So it wasn't really nothing for me. That's going to do it for this video. Y'all let me know y'all's thoughts and feedback in the comment section. Did EA finally come through in your eyes, or did they miss on something? I know a lot of people was talking about gameplay and fixing the wide receiver and DB animations, and I feel like they addressed that heavily and in a big way. I feel like it's really defender friendly. People also spoke about fixing the blocking mechanics. And although they didn't address it for the entire game, just addressing it for the goal line mechanic and goal line feature is massive. And it is a huge improvement. I will say that when I was on the goal line and I was trying to run those QB sneaks, it really felt really difficult trying to get those extra yards or that extra yard. I actually had to get out of the goal line formation just to try to get my end goal accomplished. Now, whether or not that's throughout the entire game, I don't know, because I blew out the computer anyways. It was 56-20 on Heisman. So I don't think I'm going to have that much of a big issue going over into this game. But I noticed a massive, massive difference in the gameplay because although the computer wasn't really shutting me down, I noticed my defenders, my DBs were sticking to those receivers left and right. When I tell you they could not get anything, they could not get anything. Those DBs were latched on those wide receivers for the life of them. And if they weren't batting the ball down, reaching their arm around, batting the ball down, they were locked onto them and making sure they broke up that pass as they hit them. So there is a huge difference, not only gameplay, but even in making adjustments in these two games. I haven't played Madden, but the way they sold it is that those adjustments, the gameplay and everything like that is going to be for both. So I would imagine it will be the same. But again, that's going to do it for this video. As always, if you're here for the first time or you're returning and you haven't liked or subscribed already, please do so. Click that notification tab so you can stay up to speed with more sports gaming content as it pertains to Madden 27, College Football 27, NBA 2K, MLB, so on and so forth. We'll have that here. Again, I appreciate you all for tuning in. That's been my time. Till next time. Peace.